Hey guys, I'm Khadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some of the good welfare craft essences you guys can get this year. So again, we're going to start out with the one that you guys should have just gotten from Little Big Tengu. This one here, Stitching for Your Beloved One, is an all attack scaling craft essence. This one is again going to be sort of par for the course for what you're going to see me recommend. I really try to recommend a lot of all attack craft essences just because in general, they're the ones that you actually want to invest your CE experience into. So if you need help with how to level any of these craft essences, I highly recommend checking out my craft essence bomb making guide that will make it much more efficient. Don't miss out on that, especially if you're a new player, because otherwise you will spend way too much QP trying to level a craft essence. So I highly recommend checking that out. But again, so we're going to be starting out here. You guys can see it is all attack scaling, and at MLB this one's going to be a 50% charge sheet. That right there is always a good candidate for something. You're also going to have NP damage of 15%. So for those of you old school players, you'll remember this sort of like Holy Night Supper. Now granted, if you already have something like Holy Night Supper or even Heavenly Demon Princess, you might not necessarily need this, and in fact this is pretty much the buster analog to Heavenly Demon Princess. The issue here with this one, and again, that one's called the Suzuka Thighs CE by me. It's the easy way to remember which one it is. But it's essentially the exact same thing, only instead of it being arts crit of 20%, it's buster card crit of 20%. So there you guys go. This is basically just going to be your buster version of that. So it's still a really nice craft essence, especially if you're trying to work your way through nodes, just 3 turning, maybe just again NPing the whole way. But hey, you never know, sometimes you might end up short. You might actually get the ability to get a buster crit off, and in fact with the way the buster system works in the future with Koyan Sky and Oberon, there are a lot of star bombs in that kit, in that system, so you guys will be able to certainly crit. So I think this is going to be a very valuable craft essence for a lot of you guys, especially if you didn't have another replacement. The next one coming up here is going to be Blossoming Under the Crimson Sky. This one's from the Grail Live event. It's not too amazing, but I will point out that again, it is all attack scaling, and it's going to have not invuln pierce, it's going to have sure hit, so evasion ignore, and then it's also going to have 50% starting charge, and again 15% crit damage. This one is not card specific, so you don't really get that extra NP damage here, but if you needed a sure hit type of CE, this one's actually a really good one. So I highly recommend picking this one up. And again, all of these are welfare craft essences that you guys should be able to get in the course of the event that they come out in. Next one up here we're going to talk about is Hide Hunter. This should come back with the Summer 5 rerun, probably sometime before the launch of Lost Belt 6 in May. But again, the schedule, they may move that around. So you may see it come after LB6, you may see it come before, it may come even sooner, just depending if they try to move the schedule forward. That just is what it is. But Hide Hunter's another nice one because again, all attack scaling, and you guys can see here it's NP gen of 20% with critical damage of 20% and a star bomb to begin the battle. So not the best in terms of like the most meta of things, but it's still a pretty potent combination. It's got NP gen and crit damage for sort of the duration over time of a node, like if you're in a knockdown drag out fight like a challenge quest or a story node. But you also manage to get again 20 crit stars here right off the get-go. So that's a nice one if you're trying to rotate someone in with like a plug suit later, or again maybe just right at the beginning on turn 1 you need the ability to crit. All of a sudden there you go, 20 more crit stars, and that can help you out. So I find this one to be, while niche, still a decent candidate for picking up and potentially leveling depending on what you need. Probably not going to be my first choice to level though. So next one up here is going to be Ocean Flyer. This one's from again Chaldea Summer Adventure, which is going to be Summer 6. So this one should be, and the timing on this one's again weird. This one should be sometime in August or September. It was September on JP. I get the strange feeling they're going to start moving it forward on NA because there was a big gap there, and a lot of people kind of complained how long Summer actually took to come out on JP. So I think NA might smooth that one over, but we'll see. Even if they do, that would still kind of leave them with some sort of gap. But again, looking at this one, Ocean Flyer is basically the arts equivalent to the craft essence you guys just got in Carnimus last year. If you guys will remember, that one was 50% starting charge, and again NP damage of 15%, but then quick card performance of 8%. This one is arts card performance of 8%. So it's a really nice craft essence. This goes beyond some of the scalability of some prior craft essences that we've had in the game. So it's really nice in that regard. Unlike the quick equivalent at Carnimus, though, this one's all attack scaling. So this one is certainly worth leveling to 100 if you have it. Even if you have some of the other craft essences out there, this one will be a very nice damage increasing 50% sort of hybrid CE that you guys can get out there this year. So this one's probably going to be one of, if not the best craft essences you can get this year. That being said, we've got some other candidates in contention for that. And chief amongst those, in my opinion at least, is this one. Maiden Halloween is going to be coming back for the 3-in-1 Halloween event that we're going to get in October. This one's significant because it's a year 1 craft essence. So people haven't seen this in a long time. If you're not a year 1 player or even year 2 with the rerun, you don't have this craft essence. The reason it's nice, and I'm going to explain why, because this is one of the exceptions to our all attack scaling kind of rule there. This one is all HP scaling up to 3000. That's not why it's the nicest though. It's nice because of this. It will increase healing received by 75%. This is an amazing craft essence for soloing. I want you guys to imagine any unit out there that maybe has self-healing capability. Any unit that you can slap command codes on as well to get healing out of it. And all of a sudden you've got this solo farming monster that's sitting there. You know, maybe you've got, for instance, a command code that heals you for, you know, 1000. Now it's 1750 instead. So all of a sudden you're getting way more healing capability. And if you're going up against certain bosses out there in the game, this makes this really nice to have. Particularly because they might not be able to do enough damage to offset that. That is where you can see chat saying Barkest, Balbon Sith. Some of these units that are going to come out later this year are very infamous for soloing, using in Grail fronts, again doing in challenge quests, or even the Recollection Road to 7 quest that JP had last year. Again, some of those quests were able to be soloed quite significantly by using a craft essence like this. There are other craft essences like this. This is by far the strongest amongst them. There is nothing else that even comes close. I think the closest is 50% from my knowledge. But again, chat can tell me if I'm wrong. So I am going to say this one is definitely one you do not want to miss. And you'll be able to buy the copies of it in the shop with the new Halloween event coming out in October. So I highly recommend not skipping that one. Not just because you're going to get a ton of welfare units, but because you're going to get a ton of welfare CEs. Maiden Halloween's one, but we also have another year 1 CE here. Now I am going to say this is not the best of our hybrid CEs out there. This is a year 1 CE and it does kind of show its age. But if you maybe have somehow missed some of the other craft essences in this year, maybe you're starting late, maybe you came back to the game. Who knows? Maybe you just had to miss some time due to real life circumstances. That's fine. If you don't have another really good 50% charge CE though, this one can honestly help you. And there is a better candidate in the event itself that I'm going to cover here soon, but I will talk about that when we get to it. This one is increases NP damage by 20%. Now remember, the way Oberon's going to work too once he comes into the game is he's going to be able to boost any source of NP damage, basically allowing you to double it. So this 20% would become 40% on turn 3 in an Oberon 3 turn. So it could be really nice. That being said, again, there are still some other candidates, but just pointing this out, it's that 20% MP damage, 50% charge. That alone right there, no other considerations, still a very useful CE, regardless of what you're trying to run. And again, if you look at this, it isn't all attack scaling, but that should tell you right now that if I'm recommending this, even though it's split stats, it's still fairly good. So I did want to bring attention to it because I knew someone would probably mention it if I didn't. The one thing I can say that you can really count on with this craft essence is it's not card specific in any way. It literally doesn't have any gimmick on it that lends itself to one card or the other. It's just charge and MP damage. So in that regard, it might be useful to you. Next one up here, again, this one's also going to be in the Halloween event, just like the prior two. you're going to have Heroine Ellie Chan's Adventure. Not the greatest one, I'm going to point out, but hey, it's something. So if you're looking at it again, it's all attack scaling, so another nice candidate to level up. But then it's also got 15% Buster Performance and 25% NP damage. Who knows? Maybe you're in a fight where drains are a thing. Maybe you're in a fight that you have to go the distance and NP several times. This could certainly help you out over time. Not only are you going to card hard with this on a Buster unit, you're also going to get NP damage that might help out that NP every time you have to use it. So again, it's at least something. Sometimes it's preferable to having starting charge, just depending on the fight. That being said, it's not going to outweigh something like Black Grail if you're just trying to NP, but hey, maybe that's not primarily your goal. Maybe you don't have a Black Grail. So again, that's where I'm going to say craft essences can still be useful depending on your account. That's why I wanted to talk about these. Next one up here, and this is going to be the candidate that's probably better than Halloween Princess, and arguably, again, one of the best ones you can pick up this year. This is Aerial Drive. You've probably heard a lot about this craft essence if you've been around FGO for a while. It's kind of been a lot of people's go-to sort of welfare CE to stick on when they need damage. Even if you're not a Buster unit, just by virtue of having 10% NP damage and starting charge, that alone was useful. But on top of that, it also has 10% Buster up. So it's a really, really nice hybrid CE that also allows the multiplicative scaling by combining both Buster up and NP damage up into the same craft essence if you are a Buster NP unit. So really, really nice there. It is all attack scaling as well. And this is, again, a relatively old CE now at this point. I believe it's 2019's, which was 2019 on JP. But still, I'm going to say at the end of the day, this one is one of the ones you definitely shouldn't miss, even if there are some better ones. It's sort of now one of the baseline things. And this one will also be available in that Halloween event. So you guys can see you're really going to want to clear shop on that event just to make sure you unlock all of those extra welfares, all of those craft essences. This is why that Halloween event was so hyped for a lot of people when it came out on JP. Not only was it a return of a lot of old welfares, it was also the return of a lot of really good craft essences that we've gotten over time. Next one up here is Bear Kings. This one is actually from the Halloween event itself. It is a welfare, but it's not a past welfare CE. The reason I really wanted to point it out is, again, it is all attack scaling, but it's also a Guts CE with 1 HP revival. That in and of itself can be useful at times. There are several other Guts CE options out there, but it's welfare. So, hey, maybe you haven't been around long enough to get some of those other options. Maybe you just really prefer this because it's also got 30% Buster card crit. This can certainly be useful on certain units, especially if they're one of those, what I like to call 1 HP memers. And so what a lot of how they work is the less health a certain unit might have, if they have that gimmick on them, the more damage they might do. So this could be useful for slapping on someone and then, you know, maybe Chin-Gonging them, then throwing Chin-Gong's Buster buff on them. And then if they're a Buster unit, sure enough, there you go. Units like Hijikata can absolutely thrive with a craft essence like this just because of how they're designed. So keep in mind, this could be another really, really useful one to you. Next up here, we've got Geisha Dancing with Flowers. This one's going to be from our new Gura Gura event this year, so not the rerun. This one is split stats, so I will say, hey, look, maybe not the best of choices to invest in, but consider this. It is a 50% charge CE, and it does have anti-demonic power mod of 30% on it. That can be strong depending on what you're fighting. There are a lot of demonic enemies in the game, so I'm going to say, regardless, if you don't have better options, this one can certainly benefit you, especially in farming scenarios, particularly as there are a lot of free quests out there that just have demonic enemies floating around in them. And then our last one that we're going to cover here is Like a Lady. This one's going to be coming out with the actual Marthamas event, the Lotto at the end of the year, our Christmas event for this year. So this one is all attack scaling yet again. This is going to be your welfare CE from the event that'll allow you, I believe it is the Lotto currency CE as well. Not necessarily going to be the best for damage here, but I want to point out the really nice synergy in it, at least. Maybe this would be preferred to potentially be something like all HP scaling, but hey, at least you're getting some firepower out of the max attack there. But what it's going to do for you is it's going to get you NP gen in the long run. It's going to get you starting charge to begin the battle. And then it's also going to increase your healing received. So it's certainly not as powerful as something like Maiden Halloween with the 75% healing received. But crap, this might be better than any other option you have. This might be a really nice hybrid where you needed to start out with some, but you still needed a little bit of extra love in the healing department. Maybe damage wasn't the issue so much as being able to stay alive against the enemies was. So that's where this one could actually help tip the tide in your favor and help you out. So again, that is some of the craft essences that I think will be really useful to you. Let me know if you think there's anything else I didn't cover in the comments below, and I'll get to that later. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you guys for the next video. Have a good one.